unofficial high school, BYU High School algebra lecture in 051. Algebra 051, lesson 3.5. This lesson's about equations for a line. So an equation that represents a line is called a linear equation. So right down here we have y equals 3x. If we graph it out, this is what the line will look like. Okay, and so whenever we have a linear equation, or an equation that represents a line, it kind of looks like this: y equals mx, m times x plus b, where m is the slope of the line and b is the y-intercept. The y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis, where it crosses this line here. Okay. So how we figure out what a line looks like from an equation? Here we have an equation, and we plug in various values for x. So when x equals -2 equals 3 times -2, what does y equal? Well, y equals -6. Okay. When x, we plug in -1 for x, y is -3. Plug in 0 for x, y is 0. Then we come here and you see all the points that are plotted. 0, 0, 1, 3, right there. -1, -3, right there. And then we connect all these lines, or all these dots with the line. So that's the linear equation, and this is the line on a graph. Now, they give you two different equations. Y equals 3x plus 1 and y equals 3x minus 3. Notice that the 3x is the same. So the m in front of the x, or that number in front of the x, m just represents the number in front of the x, or the slope, is 3. And then the b here is different, 1 and -3. So if we did the same thing and made a table, we would have these equations. So first, for this first one, you just start with when x equals 0. Then I figure out y is +1, which is the y-intercept where it crosses that y line. Okay, so 0 for x and 1 for y. Okay, so coordinate 0, 1. When x is 1, what's y? Plug in 1. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. So it's 1, 4. Over 1, up 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And I could do the same thing going negative, but I'm just good for simplicity purposes. Okay, we're going to do that. Now for the other equation, it's 3x minus 3. Again, starting with x equaling 0. What does y equal? 3 times 0 is 0, minus 3, -3. When x is 1, 3 times 1 is 3, minus 3 is 0. Okay. When x is -1, -1 times 3 is -3, minus 3 is -6. Okay. And then I plot these points. So here's -1, -6, 0, -3, and 1, 0. Then I just make this line. Notice how these three lines have the same slope. They're all parallel. The only thing changes is that the line got moved up 1 or down 3. Okay, it's like this line got moved up 1 or down 3. Okay, that's the only thing that happened when we changed that b, or this number here, the y-intercept. So like we said, that's a vertical shift when you move a line up or down, but it stays the same slope. So this whole paragraph is just basically talking about how to figure out an easier way to graph the slope. Slope, if we look back here, is that number in front of the x. And by slope, it means like, is the line going this way, like super flat? Is it super sharp? Is it negative? Okay, so that's what we mean by slope. It's like, what's the slope of the line? The slope here is 3. So the easiest way to do this is to put our 1 over the number. If it's just a single number, if it's a fraction, then we have to use the fraction. But since it's a single number, we can just put 3 over 1, which is the same thing as 3 times x. Now, they always say that if we do numerator or denominator, in the numerator we have rise over run. Rise means how far up it goes, run means how far to the side it goes. Just like if you're running a race, you'd run this way, and rising up like a balloon. Okay, so it's rise over run. That means the top number tells us how far up we go, and the bottom number tells us how far to the right or left we go. So this is 3 up and 1 over. 1, 2, 3 up and 1 over. 1, 2, 3 up and 1 over. Okay. We can also do negative if we start here. Okay. Because remember, a negative over a negative is really a positive. So negative 3 over negative 1 is the same thing as 3 over 1. So if I'm going down 3, I have to go to the left 1. So down 1, 2, 3, to the left 1. And then you can always start the line at the y-intercept. Here the y-intercept is 0 because b isn't there, so it's just a 0. Or when x equals 0, y equals 0. So I start there and then I move up or down with rise over run. Okay. So it says graph these equations. 5 minus 3/4 x. So remember, we have y equals mx plus b. B is the y-intercept, m is the slope. Okay? And remember, we can switch these with the associative property, I believe. No, distributive property. We can switch places, but we have to keep the signs with it. So we could rewrite this as y equals negative 3/4 x plus 5. See, that's a positive 5, negative 3/4. So negative 3/4 is our m, and b is our 5. So if we graph it, easiest place to start is the y-intercept, which is the b. Or you can also plug in when x is 0, because that's where the y-intercept will cross. So I plug in 0 times negative 3/4 is 0. And then y would equal 5 when x is 0. So the y-intercept is 5. So I go 0 for x, and up 5 for y. Okay. Okay. Now I just have to do the slope. The slope is negative 3/4. And so if x goes down 3, I have to go to the right 4. Okay. If I put the negative on the bottom, because it can be either negative 3 over 4, or I could do 3 over negative 4. These are equal to each other, right? You can put the negative on the bottom or the top. You can't do 2 negatives, though, because then it would be a positive. So what it says, if it's on the top, I go down 3, because that's negative, and I go to the right 4, because that's positive. I wouldn't go to the left 4, because that would be negative 4. So from here, I'd go down 3 into the right 4. Down 1, 2, 3, into the right 1, 2, 3, 4. Now down 1, so down 3 over 4. 1, 2, 3 down over 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Going the opposite way, if I go up 3, I have to go to the left 4, because now negative 4 is on the bottom for x. So rise over run, up 3. 1, 2, 3, and to the left. So up 1, 2, 3, and the left 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom. There's my line. Okay. Okay, this next problem gives us the line and wants us to find the equation for the line. So remember, the equation is y equals mx plus b. B is the y-intercept where it crosses this line. M is the slope. Okay, so the y-intercept is also where x equals 0. 0 times anything is 0. But if we look at where the y-intercept is, okay, we know it's at 4. So that's our first clue. Y equals mx plus 4. If the y-intercept was down here, it'd be y equals mx minus 4, but it's positive. Y equals mx plus 4. So now to find the line equation, we just need to find m, okay? So how do we do that? We find another point on the line that's easy to read because we already have one point, 0, 4. When x is 0, y is 4. What's our next easy point to read? When x is negative 2, negative 1, negative 2, y is negative 3. So negative 2 for x, negative 3 for y. And now, using the slope formula, we have y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. So we're going to call this one the 1 and this one 2. So my y1 is 4, and I'm going to minus y2. Keep the signs with it, okay? It could be minus and negative. So y2 is negative 3. So I'm going to minus a negative 3. Okay? Then I go to x1. x1 is 0. Line over x1 is 0. See, that's 1, x1, and x2 is right there. Minus, and x2 is a negative 2. Okay? So remember that these are just numbers that we give to certain points. Okay, so y1 is going to be this one because they call it y1. This is going to be y2. It'd be okay if we reversed them, but you just got to keep consistent. So 4 minus negative 3. When I have minus and negative, I change it to a positive. So the top is 7. 4 plus 3 is 7. 0 minus negative 2. Again, two negatives next to each other. Okay, becomes positive 2. So 0 plus 2 is 7 over 2. That is my slope. Now I have to plug that in for m. Okay, so now my final equation is y equals 7 halves x plus 4. Ba-ding. And then you're on to the math lab. Good luck.